Hey everybody on YouTube, how's it going? It's Chris. I guess this is my long-awaited wrap-up session video, in which I talk about being in The Winter's Tale. For anyone new to the group, I don't know why I'm being so formal. I got this part as the lead character in The Winter's Tale, the King of Sicily, King Leontes. And I had 2 weeks to memorize about 500 lines, lead role, and I did it. I did it by the skin of my teeth, including my wisdom teeth. And it was such an incredibly beautiful experience. It really was. It was such an incredibly beautiful experience. I remember, incidentally, a while ago in one of Paul Talk's videos, him talking about the ideal academy. I forget if someone had asked him what his thoughts were, if we just shooting from the hip. But I remember Paul saying that you start by doing plays in the Ideal Academy and memorizing things, or memorizing poetry, and from there, organically, more could blossom forth, in the sense that, you'd have to, well, if you're doing a play, then you have to make the set, so then you have to paint, and of course then it gets you into literature, and beyond that, more abstract matters perhaps, the philosophical meaning behind it all, and so on and so forth. Not sure what the next stage would be, but that's a thought I remember Paul sharing that was among many other things ringing around my head as I was doing this production. And man, what a beautiful play. Although I also would like to share that I'm in the car right now because I just went to visit a friend of my mother's. This woman, her name is Peg. I forget her last name now, but she's a classically trained actress, and a really old lady. Although she's sprightly, which as is befitting an actor, I think. She's a sprightly old lady that my mother had put me in touch with from her prayer group, and I went to her house just a second ago, about an hour ago, and she's such a lovely person, truly. I didn't quite know what to expect going in there. A bit of an odd hookup via my mother. My mother had the idea that I would talk to this woman, and man, if she's not like the most knowledgeable people about the craft of acting that I've ever had the pleasure of speaking with at length, at least, because I did very briefly, people might recall, study acting formally when I was a little too young and dumb and full of bubble gum to adequately appreciate or enter into that world. Not that it's all that easy to enter into. Quite the reverse. She really reminded me of some of the best people in that actor studio that I had met long ago, and she liked me too. I think I was sharing my poetry with her. I'm sharing these 2 new poems I just wrote today, as well as Blue Burrow, and then she in turn, after complimenting me most sincerely, which I soaked up, of course, gave me this book of poetry by a guy named Billy Collins. I guess is still kicking it, still alive. Oh, look at that! John Updike gave a little complimentary blurb here in the back. Should read and drive at the same time. But man, she read a very beautiful poem by him, and then lent me this collection. She has about three others more I might get to if I handle this with care. She's very particular that I get it back to her in good condition. I swore that I'd treat it like the Pope's own Bible. Very tidy lady, extremely tidy little condominium she's operating out of. But yeah, she's a real actress. That's how she makes her money. Acting in commercials, I think, lately. But she's been in all kinds of plays. She played Ophelia in Hamlet, and many more besides. Pardon me. My vaporous ways. What was I going to say? My video, I ran out of storage. I lost my train of thought to delete a bunch of stuff. Took a little unexpected intermission. But yeah, I mean, she has known Mel Gibson personally. all these famous people. Such a joy to talk to her. And it seems like the feeling was mutual. So I'm gonna be back. I got this little Greta Garbo here in the wings. Might show me a thing or two. It's amazing what can unfold in life that you don't expect. Good things can happen, it turns out. Always in ways you don't expect them to. But yeah, I was sharing with her my experience in The Winter's Tale. You know, I had to memorize all these lines, and I was sharing with her. We were talking about acting, and I was talking about how there's a scene in which I'm grief-stricken, and I at first sort of pantomiming it, but by the final show I was able to wrestle up real tears. And for that scene, it occurs in the end of Act 3. But then also in the final act of the play, the curtain speech, final speech which I give, which I fought the director to keep it intact and in place. I broke down into blissful, sobbing tears. Got drunk on my own blissful, sobbing tears, and you know, after it was all over, I went down. Johnny can attest. Johnny came, hung out on the Discord. You know, Johnny of World College of .life fame. And I was just drunk on tears, and you know, tearing my costumery off, renting my garments, and just so struck with the beauty of it. Although when I came in, one of the first things this lady Peg said to me, when you know, mentioning to her that I had just been in the Winter's Tale, was that she doesn't like it. She's one of Shakespeare's worst plays, in her opinion, which I contested. Now she kind of has me wondering if there's not a germ of truth there after talking to her at greater length. Nevertheless, it struck me and still strikes me as an enormously beautiful play. Which I guess why not? I'll try to unpack a little bit. What I'm getting at is the play centers on on myself, King of Sicily, as well as my brother, the King of Bohemia, an adjacent kingdom, who has been visiting with me and my wife for some 9 months. My wife, as it happens, is 9 months pregnant. And I suspect strongly that there has been some untoward business between them, and so that the child is not mine but his. And in a jealous, tyrannical rage, I first attempt to poison my brother, but my servant Camillo goes behind my back to inform him, and he flees. But then I take out my anger on my wife, who I have arraigned and tried for the crime of adultery, even though there's really no damning, foolproof physical evidence. It's just the things that I've seen with my eyes, the interpretation that I've given to their friendship, because in the opening scene they're very cordial. All right, third time's the charm. Hopefully, I'll try to wrap up. I got to be home soon anyway. Although there's sort of a lot to address in a way, but let's see. So I have these mistaken suspicions about my wife, and I try her for adultery, and my little son, who I am pretty sure is mine, my 8-year-old son, gets sick with a fever and dies, and then she dies, so I think. In reality, she goes into hiding, and then eventually, blah blah blah, comes back in the final act of the play, in a very curious way, as a statue. She her maid, this woman Paulina, who gives me a hard time when I'm being tyrannical, and who I threaten to burn as a witch along with my infant daughter, who I think is a bastard. Showcases a statue of my wife in her art gallery, and her personal art gallery, and then the statue comes to life, because it's actually my wife. She's all powdered white. This final speech I give, when she comes back to life, and I hold her hand and she's warm. Well, prior to that, let me recite a couple of things. When I'm just looking at the statue, and I say, I still have it down. Oh, thus she stood, in such life of majesty, as now she coldly does, when first I wooed her. O royal peace, does not the stone rebuke me for being more stone than it? O royal peace, and here's a line I reinserted. It was cut from the abbreviated version we were all using. Who has conjured my evils to remembrance? There is magic in thy majesty. Or actually, I think in the original, it says first I say, there is magic in thy majesty, and then I say, which has conjured my evils to remembrance. The idea being that this is magic, but it's black magic. This is something. This feminist gloss, which I don't want to spend too much time on, this overlaid atop beautiful Shakespeare, has me sort of just simply dumbstruck with, oh, she's so beautiful, but really it's and there's more whimsicality to it in the original. I comment as well, for instance, that she's Hermione was nothing so aged as this, nothing so wrinkled as this does seem. And you know, she's moving, her eyes are fluttering, and I'm still thinking she's a statue, right? So it's this reversal, this thematic reversal, because again I am mistaken, but this time in a better direction. At first I was taking a representation of something, my interpretive representation of adultery for the real thing, and now here I am taking the real movement of my wife's eyes and the heaving of her breath as if it were some kind of artifice. Who has yet, what fine chisel has yet cut breath, I say. And then she comes back, and you know, I'm seizing her hand, she gives a speech, and then my final speech, the final speech of the entire play, which the director wanted to cut, which I managed to keep in there, which brought me to tears when I first read it, but also when I performed it in the final show. Still a little abbreviated, because given the fact that I changed Camillo, my biggest pet peeve of the whole thing, into my right-hand man into a woman. In the original, I'm supposed to, like, I'm arranging all these marriages, so Camillo is supposed to be married to Paulina. It doesn't work unless they're sapphic, in this case. But, no, good, heroic Camillo. Yeah. Must be a heroic woman, a heroine. Anyway, get off my high horse. Final speech, I'm holding my wife's hand, and I say, "But how is to be questioned, for I saw her as I thought dead, and have in vain said many a prayer upon her grave." And then I say, "I'll not look far to find thee an honorable husband." Then she looks at my brother, Bohemia, who happens to be there because he's chasing after his son, my nephew, who now wants to marry my daughter. In the original, I get the hots for my own daughter, which is another sort of thematic reversal. Because, you know, I'm tempted to do the very same thing I was accusing my brother of doing, to steal another's beloved. And then, but I find out by the end of the play, I know it's my daughter, and I'm holding my wife by the hand. I'm saying, I'll not look far to find the honorable husband. Speaking of myself, then she just happens to glance toward my brother, and I say, "What? Look thou at my brother? Beg your pardons. Both your pardons, that ere I put between your holy looks my ill suspicion. Good Paulina, lead us from hence." He wants her to be his eyes from now on. He's grown weary and suspicious of his own first impressions of things. Lead us from hence, where we may leisurely, each one, demand an answer to his part performed in the wide gap of time since first we were dissevered. Hastily beat, lead away. So beautiful, in my opinion, at least as I understand it. And I understand it to have something to do with the virtue of chastity, you know. Obviously enough, I guess. Your holy looks. It's really it's really a difficult thing. I reflect to form bonds between men and women without there being some kind of suspicion of sexual interplay. You know, it's a very delicate thing in life, in general. But how nourishing are those relationships really? I mean, how necessary in a way are they really for us to really get by, to really flourish? It's such a it's honestly such a necessary thing in my view to have those connections. But of course, romantic feelings can develop between men and women, suffice it to say, and I think people find it hard once you get out of the kindergarten playpen of formal education out of college. When you get married, when you settle down, if you ever do, it's really so incredibly challenging to form those bonds in a meaningful and chaste manner. But how life-giving is that, really? I mean, it's something that's sort of on my mind as well, because I was hanging out with all these lovely college women in the play who were acting in different roles, and so nice, so nice to just to meet people. I mean, to meet all of them, really, everyone, but in particular the women in a certain way. Women are just different than men. They are. They're like an alien species in a way. They, by and large, are just more compassionate, empathetic, and more immediately present and caring. And in a society such as ours, it's really almost impossible sometimes to forge those relationships, to have the context, as Marco might put it, to have such things mediated. Because I think, because it is such a delicate thing, and because feelings do sometimes develop when they ought not, there needs to be a sort of a wider societal community life, I think, where things like that can be mediated. Those types of experiences can be mediated. Man. So, full circle now. Maybe I'll make another video, because I probably have a little bit more to say. But yeah, so full circle, meeting this woman, Peg. When someone gets older, an old lady, there's that sort of suspicion passes away. Get out of jail free card. Unless your name is Paul Rhodes, I guess. Sorry, maybe a bit of a mean joke, but intended with all sincerity and charity. Anyway, God bless everybody who's listening. Love you all. I love you all. I don't know why I just said that. Maybe it's true. Okay, I love you all. Bye.